Well, hi everyone. Hi. Today I want to keep reading to you my book, Tale of a Dream, which you can find on Amazon. There is the link in the description below. Actually, I originally wrote it in Italian, so if you are Italian or if you would enjoy it and try to read it in Italian, you can find it as well. But for all my English fellas out there, I also have translated it in English with the title of Tale of a Dream. So you can find an older video on my channel where I read the first two chapters, which are titled The Storm and Family Issues. It's a very short book. It's about 50 pages, so you can read it very easily. But today I just want to go on and read the third chapter, which is titled Hope. So, nonetheless, our hope wouldn't have been broken at all. I don't remember the exact moment we received the news, but I'm sure I didn't see it as a big tragedy. I mean, in my child's eyes, grandmother's death seemed like a good thing. Obviously, it wasn't the fact itself that pleased me, but I was glad that father didn't cry anymore, even if mother had a new, strange tremor in her lips. I didn't care much about it at the time, but now I know she was torn between relief and the awareness of a completely natural pain. Be that as it may, in spite of her will, Marianne was our salvation. Well, almost. Until the end, she had tried to keep mother away from House Hendrickson, excluding her from the legacy of the manor shared by her two brothers. Fortunately, however, my uncles already had a roof over their heads, and they didn't bother to manage the old family property that their mother had forbidden to sell. So they were more than happy when we asked to have it until everything would be settled. Father offered to pay them a monthly rent, and after a few phone calls they agreed on a payment which was definitely advantageous for us. Although at the time I thought it was a huge sum, but from a child perspective, time and money become relative. When everything was settled, we took what had been saved from the store and left for Bath, where House Hendrickson is located. Considering that until then we had lived in a shining Cornwall, it is not difficult to understand that even the distance had played its role in the bad relationship with my grandparents. Or at least, it hadn't encouraged either side to make a long journey just to shout at each other at the end. During the trip, I was quite excited. Looking at the increasingly opaque and green landscape outside the window, there was no room for sad thoughts in my little head. Of course, I felt sorry for grandmother and I missed home, but those were just ideas, vague and distant from the present in which we were. "How much is left?" Sam asked petulantly. "How much it has gotta be, now shut up," Lenny muttered from his corner, without looking up from the Game Boy. I really don't know how he could manage to play in the car. I couldn't even read without getting motion sick. "But I'm bored," Sam replied, looking at mother. She sighed and gave him the patient smile she used when she could have gotten angry but didn't want to. "We are less than 2 hours away, don't worry." 2 hours? Oh my god, that's like an eternity. Sam slumped on the seat. "Then I might as well sleep," he concluded and closed his eyes. That's the only good thing you said. Now sleep and shut the Lenny grinned, but he immediately composed himself when father looked at him. Why can't you two ever be quiet? You're the older ones, yet you behave worse than the little ones. Actually, Toby is the eldest, Lenny tried to specify, but I knew it was not the wisest choice. Father never screamed, but his calm voice could be even more terrible, and replying only made things worse. Then you should try to look a bit more like him. Father glanced at Tobias, playing cards with Rick, using the divider seat as a table. Well, okay, my brother went on, but you can't compare us to the little ones because Rick is always fine with everything, and JJ, come on, we all know what it's like. It's funny how my family always talked about me as if I was not there, even when I was in front of them and could hear them very well. We all know what it's like. Leonard didn't have to explain any further what he meant. I'd always liked being alone, in silence, even for long periods of time. I could think better on my own. I could focus on what I was passionate about, things that others, and I learned that quite too soon, didn't care about. I could spend long hours, sometimes whole days, without saying a word, unless Tobias came to play with me. He was the most kind of the five of us, and perhaps that was why he always tried to at least listen to my stories, to my nightmares. When I woke up screaming in the dark, it was him who would come to my bedside. It was him who would stay there until I calmed down. Shh, I'm here, he whispered in my ear, stroking my blonde hair with his soft hand, and I fell asleep again. Except for Toby, my other brothers were not so patient with what Lenny called my weird fantasies. Sam was too lazy to listen to them, Rick too sweet to fake an interest he hadn't, and with Leonard, I didn't even dare to try. I never despised them for this, because I think it's normal for everyone to have their own interests, but it was them who never understood me. It wouldn't have mattered whether they shared my way of being, because it was mine nonetheless, but I wish that they allowed me to let it blossom. Before our arrival at House Hendrickson, my weird fantasies were limited to my own little world, a child's world made of ghosts, magical creatures, planets, and the whimsical fairy tales which fed my imagination, a little too dark for their tastes. My family had always taken them for what they were, inventions of a lonely child, and they had always replied with a condescending smile. The problem was, they continued to do it even afterwards, because they kept believing that it was all the result of my imagination. Okay, there are many other chapters in the book, and if you like it, if you're interested, I can keep reading it in future videos. But for now, if you were even just a tiny bit captivated by it and you wish to read it by yourself, you can find it in the description down below on Amazon. And it's a very short book at a very little price, so I would be more than happy if you would like to read it and tell me what you think about it. Okay, so now I will leave you and we will see in my next video. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.